Okay.
Yay!
Hi.
It worked.
It worked. I'm getting better at it. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can totally hear you.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. As we get set up, always the
Oh.
first awkward few minutes when we're like setting up. Thanks, Melissa, Lynn, Alisa. Thanks, everyone.
Oh.
Allison for joining. Jimmy, really appreciate your time. It's 3 p.m. in Los Angeles, and we're going to give our tips for choreography.
Yes, choreography.
All right, so quick introduction again for those who don't know us. Deb, you can go first as the creator of USPC.
I'm Debbie. I've been doing pole for 11 years. I've been a personal trainer for 9 years. And I started as a gymnast. I did that for 10 years competitively, and I loved it. I teach pole regularly, doing classes, workshops, privates at Smoke and Mirrors in Orange County. And yeah, I'm really excited about this competition. I wanted to create something really special for the pole community to have the opportunity to try something a little different.
If I'm shouting in between our conversations, it's because I'm reading your comments, and so is Deb.
Yeah.
So for those watching this in recording and I'm like randomly saying things, it's from the comments. I'm Chrissy. Hello. I am a supporter of USPC. We went live last week and talked about competitions, pros and cons. I've been an instructor. I've been pulling for about 10 years, an instructor for 8, and I've coached countless competitors in competitions. So both Deb and I have a lot of experience in the competition process, and Deb has created USPC and US pole champions to kind of resolve some of people's gripes with competitions. And today,
I missed the submission-based comps. I really missed them
Yeah.
from when I had the opportunity to participate in something like that. And it just went away, especially after COVID. And I thought, maybe I can bring it back. Maybe I'm not the only one that misses it. So hopefully I'm not.
Also, like, because for a while there were so many competitions in so many categories that the win didn't feel like a win. Like if you're going up against just a couple of people, it didn't feel like a win. If the judging criteria wasn't right, it didn't feel like a win. So you've already addressed that. Hi, Zayla. Oops. You've addressed that last week, and so everyone can watch the recording. But today, we're going to talk about, hi, Allison. We're going to talk about basically, so I signed up, or I want to sign up, or I've always wanted to compete, but I don't know what I'm doing. What do I do now? Hi, Zayla. So let's start with you, Deb, because I think what's interesting is if any student comes up to any of us as coaches, we have similar approaches, but also very different approaches. So like to hear how you start, and I'm listening. I'm just grabbing tissue.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So specifically, like if someone's like, I want to put together a routine, but I just don't know what to do. The first thing is like, do you have a song or songs that you are interested in? Is there something that you're sort of like mulling over that you're like, kind of might want to dance to this? And typically it's a yes, right? There's always something that brought this inspiration to the point where you're like,
your little playlist. You know you all have your playlist of like, if I ever compete or perform, this is a song I've been saving for like 8 years that you haven't choreographed to.
Totally.
We're talking about that song.
So what I always encourage people to do, and I know that this can be a bit uncomfortable, but it is to free dance to your song or songs and video it. And people get very nervous when like you have to video it. You don't have to show the world. You don't even have to show me. But you go back and you watch it, and there will be something special in there, particularly if it's the right song. Sometimes people are like, well, I have 3 songs. I just don't know which one I want. Free dance to all 3. Something will move you. You'll watch the playback and see, oh, my body is just moving the way I want it to this song. And it's going to help you make that decision of like, okay, this is my song. Now I'm going to go forward.
Yeah, Allison, I'm the same way. Like I can't create choreography without the song. So Allison says, yep, song is what drives me.
Absolutely.
Same here. I think like with song choice, I think that's so true because when you try to dance to a song that doesn't move, it's like pulling teeth to create.
Mhm.
Um, I also, the only thing with the songs that I do deter my students from using is mainstream songs. And
Mhm.
that's my personal choice. And that's because as a judge, like if I hear this Katy Perry song one more time today, I'm gonna lose my crap. Like you've been there, Deb. I know you've been there, where
Um,
everyone picks this song that I hear on the radio every 10 minutes that I end up going to like I end up going to Sirius. I end up going to internet, radio to
yeah, and I do want to say something specific to the U.S. Bowl Champions competition, which is that for the finalists, if you're selected as one of the top 10 amateur or top 10 pro, no one is allowed to have the same
I
song.
love that. Thank
So
you.
in either division, like it's 20 different songs the whole night.
Thanks.
So if you get selected, you got to
Yeah.
tell it's
And
first come, first serve.
I
Whoever
really
emails in and says,
feel
I'm using
like
this song, it's yours.
I wish that organizers would tell us. Like, my competitors would gladly change their song than use the same song of another competitor, even if it's like a song that a bunch of competitors are using in other divisions. My competitors would rather change their songs. I wish they would tell us. So, as a safety, I tell my students, like, just don't pick a super mainstream song. Maybe stay away from Lady Gaga and Katy Perry. Those are just examples, you guys. Don't hate me. They're great. They're great artists. Taylor Swift, amazing. But there is a tendency each year to be that one song that everyone uses.
Mhm.
And then my advice for other songs too is I have a tendency to stay away from really fast songs unless the competitor can dance or like they have a background. Because otherwise, what I feel like is you're not moving up to par with the song, so you look like you're behind the entire routine. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Those are
I
just
get
my
it.
preferences
I
with
get
song choice.
it. All good experiences. And
Yeah.
ultimately, what I tell people, even if it's like it is a common song, it is one that I'm like, hey, someone's probably gonna have this other song. But if it's like, if that's what your body is gonna move the best
Yes.
to, use it.
If your heart is saying no, this is my song, we either use it or here's a tip I do give my students: find a rendition of it that no one would use.
Yeah, find
Find
a
a cover.
cover
Yes,
or
yes.
or
Hi, Nikki.
make a mashup.
Or make a mashup. Mashups are allowed in competitions.
Yeah.
If you don't know how, usually in the pole community, people know someone that can mash it up, but you can also mash it up with apps now and computer programs yourself. But yeah, mashup is great.
Yeah.
A mashup is great. I also look for fast songs are challenging, but I love them. I love fast songs as someone that does not move slow well. It's just when it's almost like house music or it's super fast radio edit. If
Hmm.
someone can't move as fast as the pace, you're going to look sluggish to the song, is all I meant.
Yeah.
Like, hi.
Yeah.
And then so once
So,
they pick this song, so they found the song, they're like,
yes.
I move, what happens next?
So typically then do the free dance, look at the video. Hopefully the person's willing to share the video with me so I
Hi,
can help
Flux
them.
Vertical Theater.
Oh, Flux Vertical Theater, that's our
That's the venue,
venue.
the beautiful, beautiful venue that
It's
all of us
so
are so
pretty.
excited to check out. Yes.
So they have their song. Hopefully they'll let me see their free dance because I typically will pull movement from that. And you have to remember that your free dance isn't meant to be polished, but there's going to be these special pieces in there. It's like, let's use that. Let's refine that.
Okay.
And then I think the other thing that's so important to remember when approaching choreography is that you don't have to start at the beginning of your song.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
start from anywhere in your music because you might have this song and then at like a minute 17 you're like, I know exactly what I want to do here. Put it in, choreograph that part that makes sense to your mind, to your body, and then start building around it. You don't have to be like, well, I got to figure out the first 8 counts. You don't have to. I totally build routines completely out
Yeah.
of order all the time because it has to just grow organically. And sometimes the organic growth doesn't come from the first downbeat.
Yeah. Also, you take so when I start with a student, if I don't know them, I want to hear their playlist because it gives me a sense of, oh yes, it's Nikki, it's going to be recorded.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I'll post it. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be recorded. So after I pick a song, I usually can get their style. And you have a thing of like, pick someone that has your style. Like, don't go to a coach that doesn't move the way you want to move or do move. You say, find someone that is basically on the same page
Yeah.
with the same lane.
Or someone who's just extremely experienced that you know can choreograph multiple styles. Because the hardest part is if someone, maybe because it's your first time doing a routine, you might ask someone to choreograph the whole thing and give it to you. But if they do that and they give it to you and your body doesn't move the same way, it can be really challenging. I personally, when I'm helping someone or if I'm working with someone for a routine I'm doing myself, I like to think of choreography as extremely collaborative.
Yeah.
That it's not like one person telling another person what to do. It's sort of like, hey, how do you feel about doing this like one-armed cartwheel? And they might be like, oh, I could do that. Or like, well, I don't feel confident in that. Okay, well, what if we change it to be this kind of little jumpy thing?
Yeah.
And you just sort of work together. And I find that that typically brings about the best results because you really want the person who's going on stage.
Thank you. Sorry.
You really want the person who's going on stage for their movement to be organic to them.
Yeah, agreed.
When you're
or else
watching,
they look awkward.
When you're watching as an audience, you can tell when someone is moving because someone told them to move that way, and when they're just living, when they have their song, their head is right, they're confident, and they're just living in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the best thing. So if you're working with someone and they're just like, you have to move how I move, that can be really, really challenging.
Yeah. Also, I do want to remind those who weren't here last week is for USPC specifically. Now, this conversation is for any competition or performance that you have to do. Like I've always dreamed of performing on pole. Where do I start? This is their conversation. But specific to USPC, Deb has put more heavy points on your performance and your artistic take more than the hard tricks. And this is exactly what she's talking about, is living in that moment rather than looking like a robot.
Specifically to choreography, out of 100 points, your choreography is 20 points.
Yeah.
So we really want to see you connecting to your music and choreographing to your song.
Yeah.
We don't want to
musicality included, y'all. Like
and it's like you can move with music playing in the background, or you can take everyone and make them hear your song and feel your feelings.
Yeah. And
that is the goal with any routine, but specifically if you want those 20 points, really hone in on that.
Yes, because it's about the performance. So for those that are joining us, we're talking about number one is like music choice. So you found your music, you free danced to it, you kind of saw what it brought out of you in moments. And then Deb reminded you don't have to choreograph from the beginning. You can if that's how your brain works. For some people, they have to, and that's okay. But you don't have to. You're going to build around it. What I like to do, my tip would be for my students, I make them make a list, and I told you about this, Deb. I make them make a list of spin pull and static pull.
Oh, yes.
And I make them do, I want 3 to 5 combos. 3 to 5 combos in your spin pull, and I want 3 to 5 combos in your static pull that you can do in your sleep. You can do when you're tired. It doesn't have to be fancy tricks. I'm talking about like even transitions. Like I can transition to this really easily. And then below that, I make them do the, it's really good. I haven't mastered it. I'm not that consistent, but I would like to add it in below there. And then you have your wish list of, if I could get this, it would be really cool to put in. So we have like 3 levels of do in my sleep, do it when I'm awake on coffee, and then don't have it, training it, 3/4 there. If I have it, I'd love to put it in. So is that similar to what you do?
Yeah, that's pretty similar. I always am like, make a list of every move you know you can do. Make a list of the moves that you really want in this piece, and then those reach moves. You can have 3, but we'll probably end up cutting 2.
Or all. Like if you don't master it, your coach is probably going to cut it out if they know.
Right. Yeah, my typical rule around that, just for me personally, and what I share with people that I work with, is that like if you are 2 weeks out
Yeah.
and it is not happening, it's time to let it go.
Yeah.
And I've 9 times out of 10, as soon as the competition's over, you're like, oh, I can do it now.
Because mentally, right? The
Mhm.
mental pressure. The reason I don't like I even cut it out sooner. And the reason is when it's that one trick that they are not getting inconsistently, and this is a good tip for those too. Like if you're not getting it consistently even earlier, you are effing up all the combos in between before it and not living in the moment because you are worried your brain is anticipating that one trick that you can't get consistently. So I prefer to cut them out because I can tell when you tense up and then you're already focusing on that trick that's coming up. Like
Yeah, and
I can
I think
tell it's
that
giving you anxiety.
I think that's such a good point too, is that because so much of how this competition is, like how the score sheet is written, is about performance and about choreography and really hitting that high level of showmanship. If you are getting to your struggle bus moment, it takes you out of that performance and
Exactly.
your
Which is more
judges,
points. Which is more points than
yeah,
that
and your
trick.
judges and audience, they feel it. And it's like, oh, I could tell you were really nervous before you did, whatever, this release move or this transition, like, because your face went from like, I'm doing the thing to like, I'm going to do this move.
Yes,
I'm
it
going to
does
do it.
change. It does change, and it changes combos before it because I
Mhm.
can tell that their mind is anticipating that hard move. So I'd rather
Yes.
you cut it out and give an amazing performance
Yeah.
because than having a move you can't hit consistently. So when you have an approach of putting your hardest tricks up front, correct?
Yeah. So talking about like the
The
structure
placement.
of the routine,
Mhm.
whatever your hardest move is, put it right up front, get it out of the way, get it done when your
I
hands
love
are
that.
dry, when you
Yes,
haven't
before you're
started sweating, when
yes.
you aren't experiencing muscle fatigue yet.
Uh-huh.
Just knock it out. Like any routine I did from like 2016 to now, Cup Grip Phoenix, opening move, because that's the
Out
hardest thing
of
that
the way.
I've got that I'm willing to do on stage.
Yeah.
But
So you
it's
like to
like,
put the hardest, showiest trick
exactly.
right in the front. And I like that because it grabs people's attention right
It
away.
grabs people's attention. It's also mentally for you, when you put your hardest in the beginning, it's like, oh, okay, that's done. Like, I'm just gonna
Now it's
enjoy
downhill.
myself.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, I made the very, very bad choice many years ago to put a Fonji 2 minutes and 45 seconds into my routine. This was a terrible, terrible choice. I do not recommend it. It caused me so much stress, so much anxiety, and it wasn't even good because I was so fatigued by the time that I got there.
I love the idea. So the tip is, everyone, put your hardest trick up front. It grabs our attention right away. It impresses us right away, and then it's out of your head, and it's pretty much downhill, like a nice roll from there.
Yes. And
I
something
love
else
that. Yeah.
to keep in mind is that something that is easy for you is still very, very impressive, in the
Yeah.
sense that maybe even when you're tired, you're like, oh, I'm really tired, but I could still like walk across the stage on my hands. Do it. Like, you know what
Something
I mean?
I say all the
Think
time.
about it.
Walk
Well, even
across
like
on my
I
hand.
worked with someone once who had an extensive yoga background. So even at the end of her routine, she could do like a chin stand and lower down into a croc. And she's like, well, I don't know if that's really like impressive.
That's
And I'm
the
like,
thing,
it is.
with choreography, when we're creating our choreography, we kind of touched on is like, if it's easy to us, we feel like it's not good enough and it's not impressive enough because it's easy for us to do,
But it's
but we don't remember.
so impressive.
Yes, but we forget that everyone's body is different. So it's like so hard, car for me. It's still impressive, but why do we do that? And then we also compare our choreography once we do make the piece. We doubt it, and then we change it
Yeah.
1,000 times because then we start watching our competitors training, and then which don't do, you guys, don't look up your competitors.
Mhm.
Just compete against yourself. but hi, Vertical Beast. But you're not competing against your competitors. You don't know what they're prepping. You can only compete against yourself. When you start thinking about your competitors, you start kind of sabotaging yourself.
Yeah.
And then you start changing things. And then doubting, is this good enough? Doubting, is this hard enough? And you are sabotaging yourself in a way.
And I think it's just so important, like once you've gone through the process of finding your song, dancing to it, making it your own, putting in the choreography, and then it feels good on your body, celebrate that. Go out there and live it. Or if you're submitting,
don't change
film
it to
it.
make it harder once you master your piece, which is how a lot of people lose. Because then they don't think it's good enough because now it's in their body and it's too easy for them.
Yeah, and I promise you, when you are moving with confidence and energy from the first beat to the last beat, that is so much more impressive than constantly trying to upgrade and showing the fatigue.
Yeah, I agree. We have about 10 minutes. Okay, yeah. So in summary, for those that just joined, pick your music. We discussed picking your music. We discussed like putting in your moves, placing your moves in a list, and then deciding what goes in, putting the hardest move first, if possible, living in the moment, living in the performance, cutting out the moves that are really messing you up, because it's like, we won't know you cut anything out. We only know what you're putting out. So we don't know that you cut something out. And then when you're making choreography, for me, if you want to make it memorable, I'm not about making it hard or difficult, because difficult choreography isn't necessarily memorable. And Deb has talked about, it's about the performance and connecting with the audience.
And being uniquely you. Don't be afraid to be weird. Don't feel like
weird is memorable. Weird is memorable.
I love weird. But don't be afraid to go out there and move differently than a classic dancer might move. Like, don't be afraid that if that is your strength, to play into that. Not everyone needs to be a contemporary dancer or a modern dancer or a ballet dancer. Be the mover that you are, because that's what's going to come across the most authentic, the most interesting, the highest energy. And when you're true to yourself, people are interested. They want to see what you have to say in this routine. Exactly. Don't feel you need to conform to someone else's mold or idea of what a pole performance should be. Be your own person.
I love that. And we all move differently. So it's a great tip to remind us we don't have to move like other people. And I think going to Instagram for inspo is probably the worst thing you can do when you're prepping your choreography. Like, we want inspiration. You have the moves. Go into your archives. Find the moves, the ways that you move, the way you love to dance, things that made you happy. Find those. Don't try to move like someone else. But also, if you're not a dancer, choreography doesn't mean you have to dance classically, which is what Deb's doing. A lot of times we'll find other ways to move that isn't a classically trained dance, you know?
Exactly. And, you know, Sasha talked about this in the post we put up of her today, and she's coming to do a live with us on Thursday.
Yes,
so
Thursday.
Be sure to tune in for that. But she talked about social media kind of being the devil, because you go on there and you feel like you have to do everything that everyone else is doing.
Feel behind, you don't feel up to par. Don't go to social media when you're training for a competition, y'all. Just stay off of it.
Just stay in your little happy pole world with your song and your studio support, your friend support, and dance your heart out however you feel best. You're going to feel so much better. I promise.
I agree. So adding on to that is being true to yourself, moving in a way that feels organic to you and your body.
Yeah.
For example,
be authentic.
Be authentic. If I have someone that cannot move, like they are more stiff, and we're going to find a character that fits that. Yeah. We're going to find more of a fierce character, right? Because they're not a fluid dancer. So why would I make them a ballerina or something? So we would talk about characters to bring into their story that fit their movement a little bit better. With choreography and song and everything, how do you, do you have any pet peeves with judging? For me, one of the things is like, it's been a minute and a half, y'all. You haven't touched the pole.
Yeah.
And this is a pole competition. Like, I love that you're dancing and living in the moment, but let's also remember it is a pole competition. And I will look at my watch and be like, oh, it's about a minute 44. We haven't touched the pole once.
Yes.
Like,
and really consider in your choreography, and I'm speaking specifically now to US pole champions and the scoring, that the way that it is really consider how you're transitioning from the floor to the pole and from the pole to the floor, so that you're not just like walking over to the pole and being like, I'm going to do a pole pass now.
I just want to like do an example, but basically you hold the pole and you're like,
yeah,
you start doing your combo. We've all seen that.
Yeah, really find ways. Actually, one of our judges, Suwasit, I shared it in the story on USPC, but Suwasit posted this beautiful connection from the floor up onto the pole and kind of back and around. And not that you have to do specifically that, but that's sort of that inspiration behind that scoring, category. We want to see that kind of fluid connection. And then when you get off the pole, it's like, don't just drop down flat-footed, really make that move continuous, right? Like we want to see you come off the floor right into whatever you want to do on the pole. And it needs to be like super buttery and fluid. It can be, but it can also mean like you jump down and you do something, powerful and acrobatic. It's more that it's just a connection rather than a break.
I love that. Also, thanks for bringing that. In choreography, I will choreograph breathing moments where I will be like, okay, this is your moment to breathe. Do not hold your breath. Like you have moments scattered throughout the piece. Breathing moment, breathing moment, breathing moment, like recovery. So if you're doing a super fast spin pull, please choreograph some recovery time with some simple floor work before, oh yes, that move from floor to Superman, epic. Is that Suwasit?
Yeah, that was,
check that. We're gonna have to save it for Jam.
It's on Suwasit's feed.
But definitely choreograph some recovery. I call it recovery time or breathing room, where you're gonna be disoriented after spin pull. Maybe don't do a front flip or something like that. Like have a recovery if you need it. If you just did a really hard move that disorients you because you have to jump off the pole, make sure you do a recovery move. Don't just stand there, obviously, but strike a pose as you breathe.
I was just going to say, you can be lying down, looking at your audience and just moving one leg and selling it.
Breathing.
As long as you're selling it, it'll work.
We have a few minutes and I do want to talk about submissions. So it was actually students who came up with this idea. So if you don't want to compete, because last week we talked about competing's not for everyone. Right now, it might be an aspiring goal or not a goal at all, or you just want to perform. A great way is to actually apply at USPC website. Mind you, y'all, I don't get any money out of promoting this. I just love the platform. Sign up, submit a video. Why? Because it's going to give you a deadline to create choreography. You're going to take all of these tips and all the tips USPC is going to be giving. You're going to create your own choreography. And then you're going to submit it. It's a max of 2 minutes. You can make 2-minute choreography. You're going to submit it to USPC and you're going to get professional judging and not have to commit to compete if that wasn't your goal, right? Something
there is an option on the application where it can say feedback only. So the video judges aren't going to know that you asked for feedback only. You're just going to be put in the queue with everyone else. They're going to review your video just like any other applicant. But then, when we go through, I'll make sure you're just getting the feedback and not all the other information.
And that's how you can tell, like, because they're going to tell you, like, it felt stiff or it didn't fit. They're going to give you the feedback you need. How else would you get that kind of feedback? Unless you did submit somewhere else to compete. This is like the perfect opportunity to get that coaching.
I want to say part of the USPC mission, and it's on our website, is to help pole performers grow. We want to support the growth. So going through this application process and getting that feedback is part of our mission, is to help polers grow in their pole performance journey. And so that was something that's like a core value that was very important to me when I came up with this idea, is that I want it to provide growth opportunities for the pole community. And so that's where that submission-based feedback is very, very important to me, because I know what it's like to keep submitting to competitions and like have no idea why you did or didn't.
Why you were chosen. Yeah. And also it's just like, where else are you going to find professional feedback from people like Natasha Wang and Sasha Fierce? Like honestly, you all should take advantage of this opportunity, because competitions never really gave us this opportunity to grow. Like, go make your choreography. You have until June 30.
Yes.
Let's face it, you're not going to make anything unless you're forced to with a deadline. You're just not. I'm not. Sign up, make up to 2 minutes, even if it's 1 minute, make a choreography as your own project.
Yeah.
Record it as a project, and then get professional feedback on how you can improve things they love, things that you can work on.
And if you need a deadline, you can go on the website, uspolchampions.com. You can submit your application today. You have until June 30th to send in your video link. Just remember that once you submit, it's non-refundable. That money is going to the judges, to our venue, supporting the competition. But then you've got that deadline on there for yourself that you're like, I'm going to do it by June 30th. And I know for me, sometimes it's like, I already put up the money, so now I got to do
it. Exactly. Once you put up the money to apply, that's going to be your push to actually complete it. And it's very accessible. You can make your own choreography or work with a coach to make up to 2 minutes. I have one student, we're making a 2-minute video, whether she competes or not, just to like have this moment when she was doing all these cool things and have this cool video she's going to be able to keep. And we wouldn't get our crap together without the deadlines. So.
Well, I think, have fun with it.
Yes.
Be yourself, have fun with it. Remember that you don't need to fit a specific mold. Be authentic, perform as yourself.
Yes. And I hope all of these tips help everyone with their choreography. Of course, you can also come to us for coaching, or any of the judges are great choreography coaches as well. There's so many
judges are not
judges can't choreograph. If you're competing, judges can't choreograph your piece. No. But if you wanted to work with choreography
in general,
in general you can. We have there's another live on Thursday.
Thursday, Sasha Fierce is going to join us for a live talking about her competition preparation tips and her own personal competition experience. So we're super excited to talk to her on Thursday. That's at 3:30 Pacific time.
I love it. And if you have questions in advance that you'd like to address, you can message USPC.
DM US Pole Champions if you have questions, or you can always email info@uspolchampions.com, and we'll definitely get back to you.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us. We do plan to do these live series.
We'll be here every week, and we've got more. I've got more guests coming too. I've got guests lined up for like 3 weeks.
Yay! It's going to be super fun. And if there's a topic like related to performing or competitions that you're interested in, just message USPC as well. US Pole Champion.
Let us know if there's something you want us to talk about. We're here.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks Deb. I'll talk to you later. Bye.